Well, I want to welcome everybody to the show this morning, or today, or whatever time it is that you are watching. My name is Brandon Tritton, and I have Gary Yates, owner of Chimney Sweep, with me this morning. Gary, thank you for coming on. I appreciate
absolutely.
your time. Tell me a little about yourself and how you got started in the Chimney Sweep business.
Yeah, well, it's quite an interesting story. I guess like most business stories, kind of started out, I was just in a rough spot. I was working a job out in Kansas City, Missouri. Wasn't satisfied with my job. I was venting to a friend of mine. He was a business owner. He was actually a chimney sweep in Topeka and Lawrence, Kansas area. And I've actually got my bachelor's degree in business. And he said, well, go start a business. The idea just hadn't crossed my mind at the time because I was married and I had a 6-month-old son at the time. So financial stability was a big thing for me. Having a job was, what I needed at the time. So it took a little convincing to get me to look into being a chimney sweep. I didn't even like climbing roofs. Heights just were not a fun thought for me. So after a little convincing, I went out there. I trained a little bit with him to see if I'd even like the idea of pursuing it. And after a while and looking into the market and research here, I found that there was a big need for a good chimney service provider here in this area. So I started just, really diving into it, training, educating myself. And after a while, I started booking jobs. And I worked Saturdays and Sundays up until 2016. In 2016, I left a new full-time job that I had and went and pursued the chimney sweep business full-time. So, I've gone a long ways since 2013, but this year I actually expanded into new services, and so things are going good, and so we'll see where we go from here.
Well, very good. So why should I have my chimney cleaned, period?
So chimney cleaning is necessary at certain times. So the National Fire Protection Association recommends that chimneys be inspected annually. I would say, make sure that your chimney's inspected each year before you use it. Cleaning is only necessary depending on the level of buildup of creosote and soot that you have in the system. Typically, I'll be able to determine whether the system needs cleaned at the time of inspection. But you definitely want to have it inspected before you use it because, things happen every year. I'll tell you, I'll find animals in the chimneys, if there's no chimney cap on it, for instance. There's wasps. There's all sorts of things that can get inside your chimney between now and next burning season. So if nothing else, I'd recommend a annual inspection is performed before burning, and the cleaning will just depend on the level of buildup at that time.
Gotcha. So how do you clean a chimney? Like, do you actually get inside it?
I have before, yeah. I've had to crawl inside from the bottom. It's a pretty nasty, dirty job, of course. But what I do, it's a very clean process, what I have. So as a certified chimney sweep through the Chimney Safety Institute of America, that's where I get a lot of my education from and my certification. They have a 6-step sweeping process. So I actually follow a very thorough process. It's a clean process. So I'll come in, I'll lay tarps down in my work area in front of the fireplace. There's no mess created. In most cases, in most all cases, I always leave the home, and it's cleaner than what I found it. So, but I'll lay tarps out if I have to clean the fireplace from the bottom side up, which I do in some cases. Then I can do that, and it's still a very clean process. I use a soot or a creosote vacuum to control dust and to pick up any materials. Because you don't want to just use a regular shot vac because it will blow dust all over your house. So don't do that. And then if I clean from the top down, typically what I'll do is I'll seal off the face of the fireplace to prevent any soot, dust, anything from coming into the house. Again, I'll use vacuum to control dust. So like I said, it is a no-mess process. I've heard some horror stories, of course, from people using other chimney sweeps that didn't know what they were doing and have created messes. So, but in my process, since 2013, I've never made a mess, and I don't plan to. But
so, what's the difference between cleaning the chimney and the inspection process?
Okay, so cleaning the chimney, during that time, what I am doing is I'm removing any soot or creosote deposits. Now, what soot and creosote is creosote's a natural byproduct of burning wood. So if you're burning natural wood in your fireplace, it creates smoke. Okay, so creosote is condensed wood smoke. So a smokier fire will create more creosote. And what happens is you've got hot gases that cool off as they go up. So all the smoke starts to condense as it cools and starts creating a sooty black residue from the wood smoke. Now over time, as it's exposed to more heat, more smoke, more products from the combustion process, that soot will continue to build on itself and create what we call creosote, which is that nasty black stuff that lines the chimneys. Now, you hear a clean chimney will help prevent chimney fires, because a chimney fire, by definition, is just the burning of creosote or soot within a chimney or connector. So, no creosote, much less of a fire hazard. Now, the chimney inspection, on the other hand, is a little bit different, because you may have no creosote or soot within the system but still be at risk for a chimney fire. A reason being is if there's no chimney lining, there's a potential hazard. If there's gaps or cracks or large holes within your chimney, smoke and heat and multiple hazardous things can seep in back behind the walls, which if it gets to wood framework or combustible products within the chimney, it can cause a fire. So the inspection process will allow me to take a look at the interior of the chimney. Also, it'll allow me to take a look at the exterior of the chimney condition to make sure that you're not at risk for water entry into the chimney, which water is a big destroyer of chimneys. You got masonry and water, and masonry acts like a big sponge and absorbs that water, which over time will create a lot of deterioration. So the inspections are pretty thorough, and it just kind of helps me evaluate the entire system to make sure that they are the safest possible to use before you start up your first fire.
So is it safe to assume that if I plan on burning every fall and winter, I need to have it cleaned?
Not necessarily. You have to have it cleaned every year. Like I said, the cleaning will only depend on the level of buildup at the time of the inspection. What's recommended is an annual inspection at minimum before you burn. And at that time, I'll be able to determine whether or not if it needs cleaned or not.
Okay, very good. So what about gas fireplaces? Do you recommend they be inspected and cleaned too?
Gas fireplaces do need to be inspected and serviced. Okay. Every gas fireplace is different. There's so many gas fireplaces being sold today. Each one has its own maintenance requirements, of course, but gas can create a sooty residue similar to that of wood burning. In a way, not as much. Wood's going to create a lot more residue, but with gas, it'll create a sooty residue. So, like for instance, with gas logs, if you look at your gas logs, if you have gas logs, they'll pick one up, and you'll get a really nasty kind of black smeary soot on those logs. Those will need to be cleaned periodically. The system will need to be taken a look at. Also, the inspection will allow me to come out and take a look at your lining to see that it's properly constructed. I will see a lot of gas log sets that just are set into the firebox in the fireplace, and they'll have no lining. inside. So with gas, I mean, you're at risk for carbon monoxide poisoning. Um, so there's a lot of things that I'll discover in the inspection to make sure that your system is as safe as possible to use before lighting up.
Okay. So tell me, you mentioned carbon monoxide. Tell me more about that. I know it's a dangerous
Sure.
in the air, and how can families keep themselves safe?
Sure. Well, carbon monoxide in fireplaces is the result of incomplete combustion of the fuel. So with wood burning, for instance, if there's not enough oxygen during the combustion process, during the fire process, it can create carbon monoxide. Now, carbon monoxide, if the fireplace is vented properly, will go up and out of the house. But again, if there's gaps in the lining, or if there's no liner at all, and there's gaps in the brick, that carbon monoxide can seep through the house. Now, it is colorless, it's odorless, and it cannot be detected by humans. So it is what we call the silent killer. It's undetected by humans, so it's very dangerous. So what I recommend is having carbon monoxide detectors on each level of your home, and of course, as well as fire and smoke alarms. This will be your first alert and detection if there is any carbon monoxide leakage within the home.
Okay. So tell me, are all chimney sweeps created equal?
No. They're not. Unfortunately, I've ran into several companies that just aren't very ethical in some cases, along with a lot of other service companies. But with that, like I mentioned before, I am a certified chimney sweep through the Chimney Safety Institute of America. What's a certified chimney sweep? Okay. What it is I've gone through a lot of education to make sure that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to fireplaces. Every fireplace is constructed differently. So there's masonry fireplaces, there's factory-built fireplaces, there's gas fireplaces. So if you have a technician come out to your house and they don't know what they're looking at, they may not get the system properly inspected. They may not get it thoroughly cleaned out. So understanding and knowing what you're working with in regards to the fireplace system is very important to ensuring that it's in the safest possible condition to use. Unfortunately, I've ran into some cases where somebody has already come out and inspected the system and they missed a lot of interior damage and told the homeowners that it was safe to use. Me, myself, on a particular level of inspection, I use a camera to take a look at the interior of the chimney. I'll take a look at the lining, the joints, make sure there's no cracks in the system, and go through the entire system to make sure that it is as safe as possible to use. But I also provide a lot of education to my clients to make sure that they understand what they have, how to use it properly, and so that they feel comfortable with that. There's a lot of, unfortunately, dirty sweeps out there too. So as again, I have a very clean process. Not everybody is created equal there as well. I'm a very detailed sweep. I feel that it's necessary in my profession because I want to make sure that my clients feel safe with me coming into their home. And also I want to make sure that they understand that I will be leaving their house and it will be clean.
That's comforting.
Yeah.
I know there's probably a lot of people out there thinking you're just gonna make a huge mess when you come in.
Yeah, I've been in some houses where people will cover their furniture when I'm coming in, and they'll cover their blinds, and I tell them it's not necessary, but apparently they've had some bad experiences in the past, and that's why a lot of folks are doing that. But I make sure that it's a very clean process, and again I'm very thorough and detailed in what I do to make sure that people are comfortable with that.
So now, what other services do you provide?
Well, I offer dryer vent cleaning and inspections, and as well as other chimney services. So I do chimney cleaning, inspections, repairs. I install chimney caps to keep all the critters out of your chimney. With the dryer vent services, the inspections and cleanings are very important because dryer lint is a hidden hazard within the home. And so if you have a lint trap, say when you dry a load of towels, you get a lot of lint out of the lint trap, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that lint will still escape through the system and go into your dryer vent, which should exhaust to the outside of your home. Now, you need to get that cleaned periodically. Annual inspections are recommended on those as well. But what happens is once those get clogged up, you may not know it. You get hot loads, your clothes aren't drying, your dryer's overheating. Worst case scenario, you burn your house down because lint is very combustible. And if you've got a couple hundred degrees hitting dry lint consistently, it's going to combust at some point. And these are very rapid fires. They happen quickly without, sometimes without even people knowing. You may be running your dryer while you're sleeping, which is not recommended, and have a fire and burn your house down. So getting them cleaned and getting the systems inspected is just another way of ensuring that your family is being kept safe from those hazards.
Wow. It's something you do every day, and you just don't think about.
Yeah. Honestly, before I got started with this, I had no clue myself. So it's understandable that it just going to take some time to catch on.
Wow. So Gary, tell me, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, they can call me directly at my number. It's 816-269-0162. You can also look me up on Facebook under Chimney Sweep here in St. Joseph, Missouri. I'm just a big cartoon character logo with a top hat and a chimney brush, so you can't miss me. You can also find me on Google under Chimney Sweep here in St. Joseph, Missouri. Currently we are working on a website, so Facebook, Google, or direct contact by phone is the best way to reach me right now.
Okay. Well, I think that wraps it up. Gary, thank you for taking time out of your day.
No, absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Brandon.
No problem.
All right. Thanks, guys.